Am I the a-hole for admitting that I regret raising my ex's kid after what she did to my daughter? I-56 male said something in anger that, while at least partially true, maybe should have just taken to the grave. Legally have 3 kids, but played a fatherly role to 4. The 2 relevant children to this story is my daughter Michelle, 24 female, her sister Amy, 22 female, and my youngest daughter, Kelly, 21 female. Amy is not my daughter, but she and Michelle have the same mother, Jessica. When I was with Jessica, there was cheating on both sides, and the last guy she cheated on me with got her pregnant. After the DNA test proved that Amy was his, he bolted and stopped paying child support when Amy was 5. Jessica really struggled as a single mother, and Amy always felt bad that Michelle had a daddy while she didn't, and Michelle would tell me how guilty she felt. By the time Amy was around 9, I started making really good money, and decided to pay a little more than the legally mandated child support and taking Amy with me more. Jessica, Amy, and Michelle all loved this, and by the time Amy was 13, she was calling me dad, which I didn't mind. I thought I was doing a good thing and helping my daughter foster a loving relationship with Amy, and showing all my kids that just because things don't work out doesn't mean you still can't get along. Apparently, I was a little too nice in teaching the importance of sharing too much, because Amy got a crazy idea in her head that it was okay to share a man. And Michelle caught her sleeping with Kelly's boyfriend Jason, 22 male. Amy begged Michelle not to tell, and that this was a one-time thing, and Michelle believed her until she found out that Amy was pregnant and eventually came clean. Kelly was distraught and angry at both Amy and Jason, while hurt by Michelle. I didn't hide my disappointment at Michelle, and I have made it a point to tell her so every time we talked. I haven't spoken to Amy in months, but Jessica recently said that I've spent enough time being angry to get over it, and called me hypocrite because I used to be a Jason. I have no delusions about being the perfect partner in my past, but cheating with family members is not one of my sins. About a week ago, Amy came to my house crying and saying that while she knows she messed up, she really needs my support. She literally came not too long after Kelly cried herself to sleep again upstairs over what Amy and Jason did to her. So I calmly asked her how can I give again what I know I regret giving in the first place, then shut the door in her face. I then sent Michelle a text that while I still love her, Amy was no longer welcome in my life and to never bring her to my house. I've calmed down a bit, but I still feel like being involved in Amy's life was a bad choice. So am I the a-hole? Edit. Okay. I've been in and out of here because I had stuff to do, but I keep seeing some things that I wanted to make clear to everyone. 1. What Amy did wasn't a mistake. It was a series of choices that she made, and obviously would have continued to make it if someone else had not ratted her out. 2. Michelle didn't tell Kelly what Amy and Jason were doing until after she found out that Amy was pregnant, which was before Kelly and Jason moved in together. Meaning Michelle stood by and watched her sister moved in with and become financially tied to someone who was cheating on her. That's what Kelly and I are most upset about. 3. Yes, Jason is equally to blame as Amy. He's just not the one contacting me or showing up at my doorstep. 4. No, Amy and Kelly are not sisters. Not by blood, and certainly not in spirit as Kelly wants nothing to do with her. Now for the top comments. A lot of people will disagree, but the fact she expected to be treated as if nothing happened when she slept with her sister's boyfriend and got pregnant as a result is crazy. You did a kind thing raising her and helping her so much, but if she's repaying you and your bi kids by doing things like that, maybe it is right to get her out of your life. Plus, it sounds like the ex is more concerned you won't be there to financially support her daughter, rather than the fact she's pregnant with her sister's boyfriend's child. Good luck. Super surprised by people calling Opie an a-hole. He did a kind thing by accepting Amy as a daughter, but that doesn't mean he has to support her no matter what. Even bi kids can be cut out if they do something egregious like this. Opie's statement was purposefully hurtful, but not unwarranted. I think it's not about him wanting to cut ties/support Amy at all costs, but specifically the AITA is about regretting being involved in Amy's life. And he's done a wonderful thing there that he shouldn't regret, even though Amy has turned into an a-hole. Not the a-hole. When are people going to learn that recreational intimate activity with a family member's partner is a great way to completely burn down their lives? Never, evidently. People won't be forgiving and forgetting that one. And then the guilty one inevitably waves a baby in everyone's faces? Nice try, but no, thank you. You made the situation, now be an adult and deal with it without crocodile tears. I've seen so many people in the sub tell parents who have biological children in this situation that they're doing the wrong thing when they treat the sibling who cheated the same, and expect the sibling who was cheated on to suck it up and forgive them. I don't know why it would be different just because one of these siblings isn't biologically yours. You are standing up for your daughter who was betrayed by her boyfriend and her sister. You're telling her sister that you don't support her and that you're disappointed in her. Did you maybe go a bit too far in saying you regret raising her? Some people might think so, but honestly, I don't. She did an unforgivable thing. Even if she was yours, I feel that you would have some regret as a parent that she never thought this was okay. Amy made a choice. She made it over and over again. Did she know all of the consequences of her choice? Probably not. Doesn't mean she shouldn't suffer the consequences of that choice. Next story. Am I the a-hole for forcing my daughter to find her own way to a wedding because of what she was wearing? My wife and I have 3 daughters, 19, 24, and 28. Our youngest, Jill, just started community college this year, while our 2 oldest have moved away to start their careers. Jill still lives with my wife and I as she is attending college locally, and this saves her money. This past weekend, we were invited to my nieces and goddaughters' wedding a couple hours away. The dress code was semi-formal, so men were expected to wear suits and women in dresses. As we were getting ready to leave, Jill was taking her sweet time getting ready, and I was kind of nagging at her to get going. She had been out late the night before with friends, and I'm sure she was feeling the effects of that. When she was finally ready to go, she was wearing some kind of black, spaghetti strap halter top thing with leggings. I told her that was not an appropriate outfit for her cousin's wedding, and that she needs to change into something else. She told me she doesn't have anything else to wear, and that I don't get to police what she's wearing. I told her that judging by the amount of dirty clothes on her floor and in her closet, she clearly has other options. She just didn't plan ahead enough to figure something out. I told her it was disrespectful to her cousin, the bride, to wear something too revealing and tacky to their wedding. Jill called me a jerk and said no one is going to care what she's wearing, and that if people focus on her clothes more than the bride, that's their problem, not hers. I told her in that case, how she's getting to the wedding is her problem, not mine. She asked what that meant, and I told her that if that's what she wants to wear, she's going to have to find her own way to the wedding, because I'm not going to arrive with my daughter looking like she's about to hit a club at 2 a.m. instead of attend her cousin's wedding. My wife chimed in at this point and told us both to calm down. She told me I was being overbearing, but also told Jill that she did not agree with her choice of attire either and reminded her this is a semi-formal event. She told Jill she would help her find a different option that would be better suited for this. Jill scoffed at that and went to her room and closed the door. I went and knocked and told her she has 15 minutes to be ready or we are leaving without her. She yelled at me that I was being an a-hole, so I went outside to wait, and after 20 minutes I went inside and Jill was still in her room. I told my wife that I'm leaving and she can either come with me now or her and Jill can figure out their own plans. My wife asked what Jill is supposed to do, and I said she can take an Uber for all I care at this point. My wife reluctantly left with me, and I could tell she felt guilty about the whole thing. Jill ended up not coming to the wedding, and both her and my wife blame me for it. I don't think I was the a-hole here, though. You're exactly right. Leggings and a halter top are not appropriate to wear at a wedding that is set to semi-formal attire. It shows disrespect to the bride, and it's embarrassing for you as well. But the people saying that you have no right to say, I'm not taking you unless you change, have a double standard. They want to say that Jill is an adult and can wear what she wants / make her own choices, but they still don't believe that Jill should face the consequences of her own choices, and also take on that adult responsibility of having to figure out how to get to an event. Precisely. At 19, I fully understood the difference between semi-formal and not. There's no way I'd have showed up in anything other than a decent dress, no matter how crappy it felt. Jill still lives at home, so even as a legal adult, if she's relying on her parents for a ride, they have every right to say, not going in my car dressed like that. I've heard of friends even doing that if a group is carpooling to an event and someone is dressed way out of line. So yes, technically Jill can wear what she wants, but her ride can also say, I'm not showing up with you if you're dressed like that. Not even a dress. A pantsuit would have sufficed, but leggings at a top for the club? No. I know that a lot of people will start going on about what a woman wears, but this is about not being up to the dress code. And while your daughter had a right to wear what she wanted, you also had a right not to be associated with her decisions on what she wanted to wear. You disagreed with her apparel, and as such, you weren't going to help her be disrespectful to her cousin by not going with the dress code. I put this in a similar category as if your daughter had decided to wear a white dress to the wedding. Yes, there's no law preventing it, but that doesn't mean you have to assist in her decisions. And if she's big enough to decide what she wants to wear, she's big enough to call an Uber. Not today, Hall. When did people forget that there are types of clothing that is inappropriate to wear in certain places/events? You aren't policing what she wears in that situation. If you can't dress appropriately, then don't go. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to contribute to my stepsister's retirement plan for our parents? My stepsister approached me and our other siblings with a proposal for a retirement plan to help our parents retire, since on the outside, their prospects of retiring comfortably are non-existent. Essentially, she wants us to collectively contribute £3,000 each month starting now and for the rest of our parents' lifetime. The money would be kept in an account in her name only, and only be given to them once my stepdad retires fully. She calculated our contributions based on what she thinks is our total household income. Currently, she would contribute £350, her bi-sister £550, my bi-sister £850, and me £1,250. I said no for a few reasons, but I did disclose these reasons to them. The first being my sister and I have always helped my mom financially, and by extension my stepdad, since we both had our first jobs. My sister and I have a joint account which we contribute to monthly. The money's our mom's, and she has full access to it and can spend it however she likes. My stepdad doesn't know about the accounts as he has a habit of just giving money away when he has it. The second, our parents had a religious marriage. It never registered it with the government, so they're not technically legally married. If my stepdad passes away before my mom, the money will most likely go to my stepsisters because my stepdad isn't the type to write a will. So, I think that's unfair, since both me and my sister are being expected to contribute the majority of the £3,000. The third, I don't trust this stepsister. She asks our parents for money constantly, and is partially the reason why their savings are non-existent. Lastly, I think it was a bit presumptuous of her to decide how much we would all contribute, and it rubbed me the wrong way. Especially since I'm a stay-at-home mom currently, so she's essentially just assuming my husband is going to pay on my behalf. After I said no, both my stepsisters flipped on me. They said I was selfish and greedy, that I should want to help our parents, especially their dad, since he used his hard-earned money to raise me. I got annoyed because they wouldn't drop it, and told them I didn't care. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. The money would be kept in an account in her name only. This was enough, but it only got worse from there. Don't give her a penny. That alone was why I said not the a-hole too. It was a bit presumptuous of her to decide how much we would all contribute, and it rubbed me the wrong way. Yes, it's one thing to suggest caring for your parents, another entirely to go, so you'll pay around £1,000 more a month than me, yeah? This is 50 shades of sketchy. So stepsister is proposing that she be the only one with access to the account. You would think she could at least be smart enough to lie and they'll all contribute the same amount. Currently, she would contribute £350. Her bi-sister £550, my bi-sister £850, and me £1,250. So the mooch sister wants to create a fund for the parents, giving her sole authority to manage the money? I think she's either lying to you or lying to herself, and she wants more cash for herself. Why on earth would she administer this fund? She's the least significant contributor by her own plan. Not the a-hole. How generous of her with her siblings' money. How does she explain her having sole control while contributing the least? Whatever you do, don't do this. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I won't take care of her once she's too ill to care for herself? I, female 19, am the youngest of 5. I have 4 older brothers, 21, 22, 25, and 28. Just to give some background, my mom has always loved being a boy mom. She dotes on them and made it very, very clear she never wanted to and didn't like having a daughter. She never liked me, and I accepted that long time ago. And her behavior towards me worsened when my dad left her. When I turned 16, her gift to me was a list of jobs I can apply to pay for my expenses, even though my dad was giving her child support. Then at 17, she kicked me out because I wasn't willing to pay more than $400 rent, while my brothers didn't even work. So she asked to meet me for lunch last weekend and told me she is sick. She has been in and out of the hospital the last few months before she found out she's sick, and looking at 12 to 18 months before she'll be too weak/ill to care for herself. She asked that when the time came if I'd be willing to be her caretaker, as she didn't want men, aka my brothers, to take care of her in that state and didn't want a stranger to do it either. Here's where I'm questioning if I'm the a-hole. I told her no, I won't care for her and she should start looking for someone she knows who'd be willing to because I'm not. This past week, I've been receiving nasty messages from everyone from my mom's Facebook because she posted about me not caring about her. They've called me unsympathetic, selfish, mean-spirited, uncaring, etc. My brothers have also been mad at me, and now I feel like an a-hole and I want to know if I am. Not the a-hole. You don't owe her anything. She has 4 children she has invested in. You aren't one of them. She can have a return on her investment through her precious boys. Deactivate Facebook, change your number if you have to, focus on your success and survival because if you don't, no one else will. Or tag this post in every Facebook comment and post mom makes. Let them judge based on her treatment of you, and how she now wants you to give up your life to take care of her when she charged you rent from 16 and kicked you out at 17. Not stay home big time, she doesn't deserve any help from you. Air the dirty laundry. See how sympathetic people are after they see how she treated you. I'm so sorry you have such a terrible mom. I'm going to be quite honest. My mom's friends who witnessed how she treated me firsthand, they didn't care then, and doubt they will now. I'm sure her Facebook friends knows too. She never posted me or about me. They can't not know she disliked me. Sounds like her Facebook friends would be the perfect people she can ask to be her caregiver. If they think it's so awful of you, they can step right up. Edit. I want to clarify I do not live with my mom and haven't for over 2 years now. When she put me out, I never went back. My dad is involved in my life, but I keep him at a distance because I'm still going through stuff, which I'm going to therapy for, and partly blame him for never sticking up for me because he knew how she treated me. But he is here for me and I have friends and family on my dad's side who's supporting me. And I've been going through the comments and reading DMs bawling my eyes out. Y'all are so nice, and I want to thank all of you for your kind words. It means so much. I'll give you all virtual hugs because you guys really made my night. Thank you. Relationship advice. Updated. Manipulative girlfriend, 29 female, was pressuring me, 29 male, to adopt a baby. Background. My girlfriend, we'll call Megan, and I have been dating for the past 6 months. It's by far the happiest relationship either of us have ever had. Initially, I pushed back when she suggested moving in together, but we got a place together in February. I'm incredibly happy with the decision, and we're very grateful to have each other right now. The past several weeks at home have been an unexpected blessing for me. As a freelance graphic designer, I continue working remotely and also finally have time to work on a passion project I've been putting off for years, a large paper sculpture. Megan feels lost. She poured everything into her career and quickly advanced to head manager at an upscale resort. But the coronavirus has furloughed her, leaving her without a job for the first time since she was 14. She says every day feels painfully empty, and I feel guilty that this has been so hard for her and easy for me. On to the issue. A week ago, Megan said she had news she thought would excite me. She proposed that start trying to get pregnant. She feels now's the perfect time because everything is so monotonous, and a baby would be wonderful to look forward to. I was pretty shocked by this because kids have come up multiple times in our relationship, and we had always agreed that neither of us would ever want them. She says that her priorities have shifted, given everything that's going on. I was starting to empathize with this major change in priorities, but then she added that when the lockdown is over, she plans to return immediately to her 80-hour-per-week work schedule. At this point, she'd want me to take on the bulk of parenting responsibilities because my job is more flexible. This upset me, and I told her that this might not be a good idea. She suggested that my reluctance might just be a symptom of my commitment issues, which have caused problems in previous relationships. She pointed out that I had second thoughts about moving in together, but that turned out to be a great decision. Working on my sculpting project has been so fulfilling, and I worry that a child might interfere. Megan says I need to consider her needs too. I'm sincerely trying, but I'm at a loss as to how we can balance both our needs. She would no doubt make an amazing mother because she's extremely dedicated to anything she sets her mind to. I want her to be happy, but I don't want to make a decision I might regret. Am I letting my fear of commitment hold me back? Now for the top advice before reading the first update. Does Megan know how to make a baby? Does she know they don't come out right away? Follow-up question. Does Megan know that after quarantine ends, there will still be a baby? Horrendous idea. You've been together 6 months. The idea is coming out of boredom and lack of direction, not an actual well-thought-out plan and care. Neither of you are ready for this. Most gyno offices are actively warning people against getting pregnant right now. There's so much unknown. Partners aren't allowed into sonogram appointments. Women are giving birth without their partner. Babies are being put in quarantine. Parents can see their babies after birth. Is this really what you want to face with your new girlfriend because she's feeling a bit lost? This is a rough time on all of us. Having a baby in reaction to that, especially in your scenario, is a monumentally terrible idea. I appreciate your thoughtful comment. The lack of medical support is something we have talked about and take seriously. How flipping seriously could you be taking it if you're entertaining the idea of having a child that you don't really want under those medical conditions just so your girlfriend will feel less bored? How is this even something you're considering at all in any way, shape, or form? I wouldn't say that your commitment issues are the problem. The emotional manipulation on her part is a huge red flag though. The lockdown could last a long time, but she could be back at work in a month or 2. So what then? This is a seriously irrational decision and not one that should be decided in one day because she's bored. I don't want to make it seem like she's manipulative because she's a great partner and we communicate well. Not sure where you're located, but we're in the US, and projections are that the hospitality industry is going to take a long time to even start to recover. Now for the first update. A month ago, we found out it's a boy. My girlfriend was devastated because she's always imagined raising a strong and confident girl. I tried to comfort her by suggesting we try again after this pregnancy, but she didn't like the idea of getting pregnant again so soon. After a few days, she concluded that adoption would be a better solution. She says she's really happy about this decision because it guarantees us a girl, and it allows us to start the adoption process while she's still out of work. I'm excited to become a father, but 2 newborns feels overwhelming. That said, throughout our relationship, my fear of commitment has always created problems. I was reluctant at first to move in with Megan or to try for a baby, but she inspired me to face my fears, and she ended up being 100% right. I love her passion and enthusiasm, and I know that she's going to be an amazing mother because she can do anything she sets her mind to. How can I approach this adoption decision rationally instead of letting my fear of commitment cloud my judgment? I want to have a mature conversation with Megan that communicates my fears while prioritizing our family. I remember your last post. This is terrifying. Your girlfriend didn't help you overcome commitment fears. She manipulated you into moving in together after just 12 weeks of dating, manipulated you into thinking having a baby to break the monotony of quarantine was a good idea. It is a terrible idea, and is now trying to manipulate you into adopting because she doesn't want a boy. How do you not see how manipulative and crazy she is? She's bored in quarantine, so she thought having a baby was a good idea? She wants to put herself and a baby at risk by having to be in doctor's offices, the hospital, etc. She thinks 2 infants is a good idea? My dude, I'm very worried for you. This woman is totally irrational, and you don't see it. Dude's pretty stupid and careless if he already creates a baby with someone he only lived together for 3 months. It's my understanding that newborn babies are the most sought-after age group and in high demand. You 2 are not married. You've only been together a year. This is your first baby. I don't think a reputable adoption agency would even entertain your application. Especially for the reason, could you imagine? Social worker. Okay, I see you 2 were expecting a baby already. What brought you to adoption as well? Did you want twins or something? Them. Well, the problem is she's growing a boy, and well, gee, we just really wanted a girl. WTF? Okay, they probably won't allow Get to adopt while pregnant. This is probably hormones talking. How sad for your son that she's barely interested and really wants to replace him. But like I said, it's probably fear and hormones talking. When she sees her son, hopefully her whole view of the world will change and be beautiful. Also, maybe have a counselor lined up and ready to go. I'm worried about postpartum depression hitting since she has this preconceived notion of what she wants. Actual life may hit pretty hard. Edit. I read your previous post. This girl sounds incredibly manipulative. Oh lord. Reading his last post knowing that she actually convinced him to get her pregnant is so eerie. Now for the final update. My girlfriend Megan had her heart set on adopting a baby girl, and I was trying to be considerate of her needs. I somehow saw a strong future with her despite all the crap I now recognize as manipulation. Last week, she told me that she decided on a name for the baby, Jessica. And all of a sudden, it hit me. Yes, she used the word decided. She never even considered that I should have any say whatsoever. I thought back to all the comments in my previous post telling me that Megan was manipulating me, steamrolling me, and gaslighting me whenever I needed my voice to be heard. Once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. 2 days after the baby name decision, I told Megan I was leaving and moved back home with my parents several hours away. Megan won't stop sending me angry, manipulative voicemails and texts. After the first few messages where I clearly stated my boundaries, I've chosen not to respond. It's just so toxic. An enormous weight has been lifted from me. I can finally focus on myself, and that's been so good for me. It was hard for me to hear RA's advice in my last post, but I can now say that I sincerely appreciate it. Now for closing comments. Good job, but she's still having your actual kid, and that means you are not done with her crap. Her being a psycho as she is, I doubt it's his kid. She sounds like the type who decided on someone to strap down for cash. Then she decided someone else would be better to give her a child. Despite all her faults, Megan is very hardworking and has made a successful career for herself, so I don't think it's money. If she was going for a rich guy, I don't think she would have picked me. Also, we've been quarantining rigorously since March, so it's basically impossible that she cheated. I work from home and she's out of work, so we've been in the same house pretty much 24/7. I think you're correct here that it wasn't about money. It was just about having someone around to fulfill whatever her wishes and desires were. Live-in partner after 3 months? Done. Try for a baby out of boredom after 6 months? Done. I'm really proud of you for stopping this before getting into an adoption together and taking yourself home. All of us here support you. But like everyone is saying, you cannot use being overwhelmed as an excuse not to lawyer up right now. It's like getting into a car accident and going, I'm in too much pain to deal with calling an ambulance and getting to a hospital. All that does is make things harder and more overwhelming later on. Ask your parents to sit down and do it with you if they're willing. But do not wait on this, friend. Good luck. Bro, what are you doing? I remember your last post, and man, you need to work on not being a pushover. She completely bodied you into 2 kids after living together for what was it, 8 to 10 months? As horrible as human being as she is, why did you bend to that? Lawyer up, get paternity test, and freaking learn from this. I still remember the idea you pushed off confronting your fears. That made me cringe. Being committed and having 2 newborns isn't confronting anything. You need to do some serious soul searching too, my guy. It's a tough pill to swallow, but she absolutely punked you after dating for 12 months. Both of y'all have issues to work on. Good luck, my man. Thank freaking God, dude. I just started from the beginning and wanted to slap you several times. Really glad you're starting to see how flipping crazy this relationship is. Sad there is now a child involved, but better you guys break up now than later. Now for the next story. I, 35 male, deeply regret manipulating my wife, female 34, into having children. I know it sounds bad, and I know we're not supposed to talk like this, but the biggest regret I have is having children. Our lives are ruined because of me, and I don't know where to go from here. My wife and I have been together 12 years, married 6. We have 2 kids, 2 female twins. We had agreed to be child-free very early on, but as we were getting closer to 30, I just became obsessed with the idea of having children. We were engaged, and I told her that I would not marry her unless we had at least 1 child. We broke up for a bit, but we found our way back to each other, and she agreed to one. She agreed under certain conditions, the main one being that she didn't want to stay home with a child for any more time than it took her to heal. She had an amazing job that she absolutely loved, worked very hard to get, and was extremely well paid. I had a job that I also loved, but was not well paid. I'm in a field where there is a huge income disparity depending on what you do. I got to do what I loved because her job more than compensated financially. We had an amazing life and amazing relationship. We traveled a lot in our country and internationally. We are both outdoorsy and active people, and would take camping/hiking/rock climbing vacations regularly. We make love a lot, tons of free income, a lot of financial security, and I messed it all up. My wife ended up pregnant with twins. They messed up the epidural, they messed up the C-section, and she had an extremely traumatic birth experience. Now, almost 2 years down the line, she struggles with chronic pain and extreme postpartum depression. She can't work at all, not her job and not any other job. She can barely walk more than half an hour at a time without pain, and her mental state means she absolutely shouldn't be responsible for patients. She went from a high-powered position to laying in bed and crying all day. I honestly don't think there's been a day since the birth that she hasn't cried. We haven't been intimate in more than 2 years. My mom moved in with us to help raise the kids, and she's old school and doesn't believe in mental health. She's not the nicest to my wife, and they're alone all day. There is no one else we can ask, and we can't afford other help. She's in therapy, she's on medication, we've seen all the doctors we can see. I went from low-stress job I loved to a higher-paying one I hate. I work 12-plus hours days and even weekends sometimes, and we are still struggling. I miss my old life so much. I miss my work and my friends, and above all, I so desperately miss my wife. Our children are being raised by my mom primarily. I spend as much time as I can with them, but I barely know them. I don't know what I was looking for when I wanted kids, but it certainly wasn't this. I don't blame them for anything, but I have a hard time bonding with them. My wife spends most of her time in our room and interacts with them when I'm there or during therapy. I don't think we're doing a good job with them. They're well cared for by my mom, well fed, happy and safe, but I don't think we are as involved as parents should be. I'm struggling and seeing a way out. Therapy is helping, but the progress is so slow. I don't really know what more to do right now. I feel so much hatred for myself. We had such a good life. It all went down the drain. And in the end, my wife is ruined physically and mentally for something she didn't even want in the first place. I'm not sure what advice I'm asking for. I'm not sure what else there is to do here. But if anyone has anything to offer, even nice words, it would be appreciated. All our friends distance themselves, and we literally have no one but each other. Now for the top advice. She's old school and doesn't believe in mental health. She's not the nicest to my wife, and they're alone all day. There is no one else we can ask, and we can't afford other help. She's in therapy, she's on medication. We've seen all the doctors we can see. Figure out a way for your wife to get different support. Example, an au pair, a mother's help. Any support is better than a toxic mother-in-law who doesn't believe in mental health and puts your wife down. Therapy is helping, but the progress is so slow. Joining a support group might help too. You aren't alone. There are quite a number of people who regret having kids. Your mother is likely part of the reason your wife is having a hard time recovering. How can your wife possibly recover if she has someone around all the time who is A, raising her kids, presumably making her feel inadequate as a mom, and B, someone who presumably makes her feel even more like that by invalidating her feelings and experiences? You say you have no other options, but you have to try to find one. Get your mom out of the house ASAP. I'm struggling and seeing a way out. There is your issue right there. You were looking for a way out when there isn't one. You struggle through this, not look to run away. Keep doing what you are doing with the therapy and keep working towards being better parents. Ditch your mom and figure out something else if she can't be supportive. It's extreme, but maybe there is a way out through giving a family member temporary guardianship or even adopting them out. For the kids' sake, they don't really have parents as it is. I think Opie is reaping what he sowed, but at the kids' expense. If they won't do that, they need to severely downgrade everything and hire help. He should see if his bank can give him financial advice. At least there would be a chance for mom to start recovering after the terrible mother-in-law is gone. Does she even want to stay married to you, or would she rather divorce you and live a life alone, seeing the twins part-time? What does she want? What does your wife need now? She is very important here. With just your income alone, plus your wife's new disability status, you might qualify for state-supported childcare. You are very strong against your wife. Be equally strong against your mom. Give her the same ultimatum. Talk to her firmly and tell her that you won't be her son, and she will have no grandkids if she cannot treat your wife kindly. Does your mom know what you have costed her daughter-in-law? Your wife cannot possibly heal with your mom there. Agree 100% with this comment. The wife's wishes need to come first. And if she wants a divorce, that needs to happen. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that defending another woman against me is disrespectful? Obligatory. This happened last month, but I'm still pretty irritated about it. Not sure if that's the best word for what I actually feel, but oh well. Betrayed, I guess. So, I got into some pretty childish social media drama last month. It was nothing that I personally started. I had commented on a friend's post who had just had a breakup and was just offering support. Well, some woman that I don't know and have never heard of messaged me in response to my comment saying, "Don't give out relationship advice when your own relationship is trash," or something to that effect. Like I said, I had no idea who this woman was. So, all I responded with was, "Who are you and what are you even talking about? My relationship is great, and I wasn't forcing advice onto anyone." She never responded. So I show my husband the message, and immediately gets weird. Apparently, he knows this woman from years ago, and she is a really nice person. So someone must have hacked her account because she would never be mean or rude. The thing is, he only hung out with her twice, nearly 12 years ago, and spoke to her once online since that point, so he truly does not know this woman at all. So I simply asked him why he was trying to defend the woman who had reached out to me being nasty, instead of defending and taking my back. His response was, "I just don't think that it's her. I really don't." He then messaged her himself and asked her if it was her, and she said, "You know me just about well enough to know that I wouldn't say that. My son was using my phone. It was probably him. Her son is 9. I creeped. So I called BS. Anyways, he continued defending her. So I told him that it was extremely disrespectful to me that he is defending this woman and turning his back on me when I had done no wrong. He says I'm an a-hole for not dropping it, and that she said it wasn't her, so it wasn't. He also said, just because I married you doesn't mean that I can't defend another woman. I don't always have to agree with you, which was not the point I was trying to get at, obviously. Am I the a-hole? To include, it reeks off affair, I know. But the woman lives 6 states over, so that's impossible. Now for the top comments. Kinda sounds like your husband's affair partner just made herself known and is scrambling to cover it up. 99 out of 100 internet strangers think his story is BS, and he has banged her at some point. He is being very shady. He owes you a better explanation. Red flags are dancing the hulu in front of you naked. Keep pressing. He doesn't seem to be a very good liar, so the truth will probably come out soon. He's spoken to her 3 times in his life, 12 years ago, but he knows her better than that? You're not getting the full story. This, OP, it doesn't have to be a constant physical meeting to be an affair. People have emotional affairs all the time. Or maybe it isn't an affair. It may be your husband just doesn't know how to react to an old flame for some reason, but this woman is no stranger. "You know me well enough to know" is not a statement you make to someone you've spoken to 3 times 12 years ago. Edited to add, looking through your comments, it seems most likely this was an old fling for before she moved away. Maybe he hasn't kept in contact with her since then, but crazy people stay crazy, even when you leave them alone. Not the a-hole. His behavior is extremely odd and seems a little suspicious. I also call BS on a 9-year-old writing a message like that. I'm sorry to say, but it feels like there's something else going on here. I actually thought so too, so I pulled our phone records and there was nothing out of the ordinary. And then I found out that the woman actually doesn't even live in our state anymore, so there's no way he would have been able to cheat. Update. His work tablet just pinged, and her chat had just popped up. Apparently, she saw this post. He has responded to her and they are still talking. I will update with the conversation in a second. So far, he has my back. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for arguing with my husband after he decided to sell the house without telling me? I, female 31, lost my late husband in 2016. He got sick with cancer during the first year of our marriage. It was absolutely terrible and devastating. I don't want to go into much details because it really hurts to remember those difficult times. My late husband suffered a lot, and he didn't ask for much. He just wanted to be able to sleep, but he couldn't. I remember when he used to tell me this, and it broke me. I did all I could to ease his pain, but I don't think it was enough at all. He was taken from me eventually despite everything. I have a good relationship with my former in-laws, and I'm grateful for the support they showed me. I wouldn't have been able to carry on without them. I've been married to my husband for 4 months now. He's a good man. We have our fair share of arguments just like any other couple. He's divorced, so this isn't his first serious relationship. Once he moved in with me, he said he wanted to replace all the furniture, even though it was in good condition. He insisted, and even though I didn't agree, I did it eventually because he'd get into an argument with me and turn his phone off for a few days. Next, he suggested that I donate some of my late husband's belongings, saying that I kept too many. This was hard for me to do, but I was able to sort through his belongings and kept a few things. Last month, we were talking, and he expressed being uncomfortable living at my house. He told me that every time he'd come home, feels like coming to someone else's home instead of his. He said that he can't enjoy sitting in the backyard without picturing my late husband there. He said he felt awful about it, but couldn't help it. He refused to go to therapy, thinking this was just ridiculous. At this point, it was clear he was making excuses to get me to move out of the house, since he suggested this before we got married. He knew how I felt about selling the house, but still brought it up. He then told me about a job opportunity that he didn't want to miss, and asked if I was willing to support him by agreeing to sell the house and move out of town. This was sudden, so I asked for some time to think about it, but I was surprised to find the house was already put on the market for sale. Even pictures were taken. I was furious. I had a huge argument with him. He said he thought I agreed, but he knew I wanted time to think but just decided to do what he wanted. He lashed out at me when I asked if this job opportunity really exists, and he said I was being selfish and inconsiderate, then left and turned his phone off. I have no idea how to deal with this issue, especially since he says that I'm not being supportive and constantly making him feel pressured. Now for the top comments. Let him go take the job. You keep the house. This is not about his discomfort living in a dead man's house, it's about control. You can tell because he turns his phone off to punish you for having opinions. He is manipulative and mean and does not respect you. You deserve so much better. Not the a-hole, obviously. Edit. Hijacking my own comment to echo all the Redditors talking about financial mistreatment and fraud. Once the house is sold, he will either A. use the money to put his name on the deed of a new house that he will own after you split, or B. run off with the proceeds from the sale. Please don't wait around to find out which. Also, check your credit, because if he will illegally put your house on the market, he certainly will take out credit cards in your name. I'm sorry, OP. This really is awful. Change the locks and get a divorce. That's how you deal with an abusive a-hole. Not the a-hole. Red flags. He is being toxic and controlling. If he doesn't agree to therapy, get separated. I'm never this commenter, but this may need a divorce. A marriage betrayal of this magnitude should not be an issue, but especially not 4 months in. Info. How is your current husband a good man if he got rid all of the old furniture, then your late husband's belongings, and then the house, without telling you? And ghosts her for days when he doesn't like what she has to say. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my husband out of our kids' room? My female 13-year-old son's birthday was last month. I got him an Xbox that he's been wanting for a very long time. He was able to get it after I saved up for it myself since my husband used to call this stuff useless and we shouldn't spend money on it. My husband liked playing with the Xbox very much. First, he'd play with our son, but now he has completely taken over and won't even let our son play with it even for a few hours. Not even on the weekends. He's playing most of the time, from 10 p.m. till 6 a.m., then sleeps till 12 p.m. Spends a few hours visiting gaming stores to buy new games or borrow games from his friends or nephews. Then sits in the living room and starts yelling, cursing, and pretends like he's talking to the other players while he's actually talking to the screen. He wouldn't sit at a table to eat, and instead eats in front of the screen. He won't sit with the kids and tells them he's busy whenever they ask him to help with homework. I just sit on the couch feeling like I'm not even there, while he yells and curses in front of the kids. When I told him this has been affecting his work because he'd go to sleep at 6 a.m. and wake up at 12 p.m., he asked me what I wanted him to do, go to sleep at 6 and go to work at 8? He'd call work to tell them he won't come or get someone else to cover for him. even offer them dinner or money but never really keep his promise. I was too embarrassed to talk to anyone about this. He is clearly being obsessed. I had an argument with him when he made me lie to his mom. Then she found out he was at home when I told her he wasn't. He moved into the kids' room so he could focus on playing. The yelling and cursing continued. The kids wouldn't even be able to sleep because of him being there late at night. Last night, my daughter came to me wanting to sleep with me, saying she couldn't sleep because her dad was in their room and yelling all night. I was so mad at him, especially after I told him to stop because the kids couldn't sleep because of the noise. He kept saying, "Give me a few minutes," till it was 1:30. I had enough at this point, and I unplugged the Xbox and told him he was no longer allowed to do this in the kids' room when the kids need to sleep so they could concentrate on school. He blew up on me for ruining his game and following him from room to another and making him miserable. He argued that I have no right to kick him out of his kid's room and called me controlling for how I handled the situation when I've already told him but he didn't listen. Now for the top comments. First, he'd play with our son but now has completely taken over and won't even let our son play with it even for a few hours. This alone makes him the a-hole, not the a-hole. Exactly. He's a major a-hole hugging a gift given to your son. You need to create boundaries for him. If he loses his job over this, it will be like having another kid for you. Your husband needs to grow up, let your children sleep, and stop playing the gaming system that your son should be playing. For this to stop, you need to ration his time on it. Not the a-hole. Sounds like your husband has an issue. Addiction comes in all forms. Honestly, he's being unreasonable and is clearly being obsessed. At first, I thought this was normal, but it got worse, especially when it started affecting the kids as well. Not the a-hole. I would sell the console. Sadly, your son isn't getting to enjoy it. Yes, my son isn't happy about having an Xbox anymore because of his dad's behavior. I'm seriously thinking of selling it. Now for the last story. My 30 female boyfriend, 28 male, needs space from me as I didn't support him today. We have a baby who is 1 male. He had his injections yesterday, which made him feel pretty rubbish. And by rubbish, I mean that he woke up literally every hour. I did a whole night and was absolutely exhausted this morning. We had previously agreed that my boyfriend would take son to nursery, as the nursery is at his work. If I take him, which I do 99% of the time, I have to go and come back to start work at 8:30. Last night, he didn't get up for our son and even said he hoped that he still had a fever from injections, so he wouldn't have to take him in the morning. I said that makes him a crappy father to say something/wish something on him for that. Morning comes and lo and behold, he isn't taking him because it's just too hard. I got mad and said it's pathetic his acting like this. Obviously, I do everything and get son ready, take him to the nursery. Boyfriend walks by himself to literally the same place. I have to pick him up, son, after work as well. Boyfriend is already home. When he got to work, he messaged me saying he didn't want anything to do with me for the rest of the week as I didn't support him. He said he's not doing couples therapy on Thursday and I can do it by myself. Also, that I should be sympathetic to him and care that he struggles with stuff I do all the time. Honestly, I just don't know what to do anymore. I have spent this whole relationship supporting him, and I feel like it's all used up. I know it gets snappy, but I'm pretty fed up. He is staying on the sofa tonight and playing video games. Surprise, surprise, childcare is down to me. Now for the top comments. Sounds like you're already a single mother, so you might just want to pull the hammer down. Likely, he doesn't want to go to couples therapy because he knows what he's doing is repulsive and doesn't want to be forced to verbalize how awful he treats you and his own child for his own personal gain. I came here to say this. OP, you have nothing to work with here. What kind of loser refuses to take the baby to a place they're already going? WTF. Right? The whole thing is appalling. But that is literally the weirdest and dumbest part of this craziness. F this guy. He's not a partner or a parent. Tell him to leave and contact your attorney to work out how to see his kid. Her biggest mistake was effing him. Dude is a deadbeat. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit for my brother and sister-in-law after they previously told me they don't trust me? I, 28 male, have an older brother, 31 male, and sister-in-law, 30 female, who have a 3-year-old son, and sister-in-law is about 7 months pregnant with their second child. I am a single man in my 20s and live by myself. As such, I live a fairly typical bachelor lifestyle. I enjoy going out to bars and clubs. In the past, I have attended music festivals and dabbled in substance use, and I do not apologize for it. It's the way I am choosing to live my life right now. But I am also working full-time for a Fortune 500 company and making, well, over 6 figures. All in all, I like to think that I have my stuff together pretty well for a person my age. When my brother and sister-in-law had their first kid, sister-in-law pretty much told me in no uncertain terms that she would never trust me to watch her son by myself. She told this to me completely on her own, and when I asked my brother about it, he pretty much just sided with her and shrugged. Now, I admit that some aspects of my lifestyle are not kid-friendly, but I also understand there is a time and a place for everything, and I would never do anything to put my nephew in any compromised situation. I have never pressed the topic with my sister-in-law or my brother, and until recently, it has never been a problem. A few weeks ago, my brother called me in the middle of the night and asked if I could watch their son. Sister-in-law was having stomach pains and they needed to go to the hospital, but they had no one else to watch their son. Sister-in-law's parents were quarantined after COVID exposure, and every other option they had couldn't do it. I was literally a last resort. I asked if sister-in-law was okay with it, and my brother said she didn't know. He was asking me and he was desperate. I told him the only way I would be okay with it was if sister-in-law asked me herself, because I didn't want to cause an issue. My brother told me they didn't have time and they would drop off my nephew on the way to the hospital in an hour. When they got to my apartment, I went down to meet them, and sister-in-law saw me and recognized where they were and started screaming at my brother. She started yelling questions at me like whether or not I have a substance on the counter or if I have a girl up there with me. So I told my brother I was sorry, but this wasn't going to work. I told him I love him and hope everything works out, and I told sister-in-law the same. But she ignored me and told my brother to take her to the hospital. Everything at the hospital ended up being okay, and sister-in-law and the baby are healthy. She wasn't going into early labor and they were back home the next day. However, my brother called me after that and said I was a huge a-hole for not helping. I said it wasn't really my decision, as sister-in-law made it pretty clear in the moment that she didn't want her son staying with me. He said I should have just taken my nephew, as sister-in-law was in no condition to make a rational decision. My mom called me the other day and said I should apologize to my brother and sister-in-law for what I did, but I don't think I was even in the wrong. Was I an a-hole for not helping them? Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. That's insane. You literally were going to get screamed at and have been the bad guy no matter what you did. That's not fair to you at all. Yes, exactly. OP, you did the right thing. And honestly, your brother and sister-in-law are the ones who owe you the apology. In fact, less your sister-in-law who had already made her thoughts clear than your brother. Not an a-hole. I personally believe you went about this the right way. You were willing to help. You knew sister-in-law wouldn't, so you asked for her permission. I don't think you owe anyone an apology. Yeah, at first I thought this would be a stubborn, "Oh, you said you didn't want me to," thing with a sister-in-law asking for help. But it obviously isn't at all. What the hell did his brother expect him to do? Take the kid while his mother was there screaming she didn't want him to? Both parents get a say in a veto in who can watch their child, and she clearly wasn't comfortable with it. Plus, the brother is an A, saying she wasn't thinking straight. Sister-in-law has always said she isn't comfortable with it. It's not new. Not an a-hole. If she, in her state of mind, had enough capacity to insist no, and to question whether you had substances or a girl, both of which are none of her business, then she was in her right mind enough that her demand of no should have been respected. This should be said to anyone who tries to say you're wrong. Someone should be asking sister-in-law why she had to be an a-hole, not asking you. Not an a-hole, and don't let them tell you otherwise. She did say D's on the counter, so I can see that as a concern for the safety of her child. Not necessarily a rational one, as just because someone takes substances occasionally does not mean they have them lying around their home for a child to stumble on. Now, let's read the next story. Am I the a-hole for sabotaging my little brother's food on purpose? My little brother is 18. I'm 20. I am staying with my family for the holidays and thought it'd be a nice time, but I forgot that they treat me like a housekeeper. I do almost all the chores and I don't mind if it's my chore. Obviously, if I notice the dishwasher's full, I empty it. If I cook, I clean up. If I make a mess, I clean up. However, if my little brother makes a mess, he makes me clean up. If I refuse and tell him to do it himself, he tells my parents and they side with him and just bug me until I do it. My brother also asks me to cook for him. He pulls out brownie mix and is like, "Make this." I always am like, "Sure, I can make it, but you have to help." He gets mad and says, "I helped by taking out the box." And when I refuse to make stuff for him or tell him to make it himself, he'll throw a fit and tell our parents. Lately, he keeps asking me to make stuff and I get frustrated going back and forth about why can't he make the stuff himself or just ask our parents. So I make the food he asks, but I always add stuff he doesn't like. Coincidentally, he hates a ton of stuff I love to eat. So if he asks for brownies and refuses to help, I put nuts in it. He hates them and I like them. He came over to see the brownies and got mad at me and told me he hated nuts and can't eat the brownies anymore. I just said, "Too bad. Make it yourself next time or help me, and tell me not to put nuts in." I thought he'd learned his lesson to at least help, but he keeps asking for stuff and I just keep putting stuff in that he doesn't like. He finally got fed up and said he's not eating because I keep making stuff with stuff he doesn't like. I just shrugged and told him to make his own food then. He told my parents, of course, and they just told me to stop being an a-hole and make food for him. It was my last day at home, so I just told them to make food for him if they're so concerned before I left. Now my parents are upset with me, and my brother is angry with me, and I am wondering if I was too petty. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. When I was reading, I thought your brother was like 5, then I went back and realized he was 18. Thank God you're out of there. I helped by taking out the box. No, just no. It sounds like your parents have really different standards for the two of you, and much higher expectations on you. I'm guessing this is gender-based, though you didn't mention. Anyway, I think this is hilarious, and you should consider putting it in r/malicious compliance. Your brother is legally an adult, and certainly old enough to handle making a box of brownie mix. It is way past the point where he can stand to learn that if he wants something done a certain way, he can do it himself. Not the a-hole, and well played. Yeah, 3 sentences in, I went, "Oh, OP is a girl, isn't she?" Not the a-hole. He sounds like an idiot. Why would your parents expect you to cater to him? Your parents are a-holes for allowing your brother to be such an entitled little turd. You are definitely not the a-hole. Why do your parents baby him? That's nauseating. The next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole because I don't want to give my dog to my autistic nephew?" I found a dog, Dave, that had been abandoned at a dog park. I waited with him until it was dark, and then took him home with the intention of trying to find an owner or a rescue that would take him. He had no collar, and when I took him to my vet the next day, we couldn't find a microchip. He was clearly someone's pet at some point. He's neutered, housebroken, and very friendly. Rehoming him never really panned out. No owner ever turned up despite searching and posting on lost pet pages, and I wasn't willing to take him to a kill shelter. My husband was annoyed at first, but it's been almost 2 years now. My other dog has bonded with him. I've fallen in love with him, and even my husband has grudgingly accepted him. As far as I'm concerned, Dave is part of our family. My brother-in-law and his family relocated to our city and moved in with us while they were closing on a house. My 8-year-old nephew has autism, and it's caused him some struggles. His parents had talked about trying to find him a pet, but I guess they never found a good fit, at least until they met Dave. He really bonded with Dave, to the point where he sneaks out of bed at night to sleep in Dave's dog's bed with him. Dave is all he talks about, and he gets upset whenever we leave the house and don't take the dogs with us. I guess my sister-in-law talked to my husband about keeping Dave when they moved out, and my husband told her he'd have to talk to me, but I guess there was a strong insinuation that it would be okay. I only found out about this proposal when my brother-in-law approached me and thanked me for letting them keep Dave before my husband ever even mentioned it to me. My husband and I had a fight, And when the dust settled, it's the three of them against me. My husband feels that because Dave was living with us more by accident than design, so we were really fostering him more than keeping him. And so it would be selfish to keep him when my nephew clearly loves him so much. He says we can go to the shelter and get another companion for our other dog. So that's like a win-win. Dave gets a home and another dog gets out of the shelter for Christmas. And Dave would certainly be very loved and spoiled with my in-laws. And yet, after 2 years, he feels like my dog. The thought of giving him away after all this time hurts. And the idea that my in-laws are using my nephew's autism as some kind of trump card to prove they're entitled to have him really rubs me the wrong way. And I don't see him as interchangeable. Like, I can just pop down to the shelter and score a perfect replacement. Now, let's read the top comments. Not at a-hole. They're trying to bully you. Now, a conversation between you and your husband about whether to keep the dog is one thing. But your husband basically did this without consulting you. But your brother-in-law and his wife have no say in this. Their autistic kid is irrelevant. Exactly. The husband should have at least said he would talk to Opie but no promises, and then ran it by the wife. The husband should have known how much Opie cared for the dog, even his feelings may have been little. Brother-in-law and his wife are just being overbearing regarding an issue that is not their decision. They are not doing your nephew any favors and leading him on that he actually might get your dog. Kids, autistic or not, need to learn that they don't get everything they might want. There are so many dogs that need a home right now. Just Google how to apply for a service dog for a child. There are organizations that train dogs just for that purpose. Not an a-hole. Just because it's easy doesn't make it right. They can get their own dog. Keep Dave and give your hubby to the in-laws. Not the a-hole. Now, for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to cook with my mother-in-law? I, 26 female, married my husband last year. Our marriage is good, and for the most part, I love his family, with the exception of his mom. At first, she seemed as nice as the rest of his family. She was welcoming and nice, and she would invite me to cook with her during family dinners and holidays, and it was nice. Then when my husband and I got engaged, she started bringing up his high school girlfriend. They were together from 14 to 17 when she passed away. My mother-in-law had known her from early childhood because my husband and her were friends first, and mother-in-law thought she was great. Mother-in-law was devastated when she died, and my husband admitted after I brought up concerns that he always thought mother-in-law wanted them to get married someday. We have both asked her not to compare me to his former girlfriend, and she always says, of course, she's sorry, but she does it. When we're alone and cooking together is when she brings her up the most. She'll say how they used to love cooking together when she was at their house and how she did something a different way or how she would have been a talented chef if she had been given the chance. One time, my husband walked in while she was comparing me to his former girlfriend, and he told his mom to knock it off, that she was hurting my feelings. Mother-in-law said she hadn't realized. After that, I sat her down and told her that I understood she loved the girl, and of course, she misses her. But it feels uncomfortable when she compares me to her directly, and could she please stop? I told her that I didn't want any hard feelings, but it was hurting how often she compared me to her. She apologized and seemed genuine because the apology was great, but the very next time, she did it again, and after a gentle reminder, it happened yet another time. So I said I was done, and I now believe it's done deliberately. My husband agrees. We can't decide if she's trying to get rid of me, saying out of malice, or if she's just so uncaring that she doesn't bother to try and filter what she says. My husband told her that she makes others uncomfortable too, and hurts my feelings every time. He told her that she hurts him too by bringing it up because he loves me and is happy with me, and doesn't like his mom seemingly wishing we weren't together. Once lockdown hit, we didn't see his family for several months, and only recently saw them again, and mother-in-law approached and said she was sorry, and father-in-law helped her realize what she was doing wrong. I told her I accept her apology. She then asked if the next time we can get together at home, would I like to cook with her again? And I told her no, that I think it is better we don't. She's upset and claims I should give her another chance. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She was told multiple times by you and your husband to stop. She ignored it. It's kind of you to accept her apologies. But you don't have to cook with her, and she only has herself to blame. Yes, that's called a consequence. Apologies don't always negate the consequence to things that we do, and we have to accept that. Opie's mother-in-law has to accept that part of Opie accepting her apology is having space from her not cooking with her. Not the a-hole. It's time for some boundaries here. Husband has your back. Talk it over with him, and if he's with it, low contact and no cooking. She has no right to have an option on her son's marriage or who he married anymore. It's said and done. Also, the girl died. She's not around, so I don't understand why using her memory to hurt people accomplishes anything. Matter of fact, next time she says something like that, tell her, I bet you, if that ex is so amazing, she would be really disappointed in the way and reason you talk about her now. Not the a-hole. Let's say she really did change and won't be doing that anymore. The fact is, she promised this before and failed to keep it, literally every time she made it. It's going to take time for you to build up trust with her, and if she's really remorseful, then she needs to understand that. One more apology and promise to do better doesn't erase her history.